Live your life within the moment, and don't go wait until the morning.
Well, good afternoon, viewers. Welcome back to Seabury's Rider channel. If you haven't been on my channel before, welcome. Today I'm off to Tilbury Fort. Now, Tilbury Fort is a 17th century military engineered fort, designed specifically to safeguard the passage of shipping and also to stop enemy ships coming into London. There's been a fort there really a lot longer than the 17th century, but it was redeveloped or redesigned in the 17th century. West Tilbury, which is just a little way up, is a famous site for Elizabeth I. That's where she rallied her ragtag army to deal with the Spanish Armada in 1588. So it's got a lot of history, and today's ride is one of those history series rides that I was mentioned earlier that I fancy doing. So according to the sat nav, I'm 17 miles from Tilbury, so it's not that far. Probably take us out towards the A13 through Basildon and then out towards Tilbury. The other thing I'm doing today is I'm just trying out a different comm setup. I seem to be this eternal search to try and find the best camera comm setup. So this one today, I'm just using the 360 and a road attachment. The comms in a helmet. So we'll see how that works. I just felt that when I did our tour of mountains and lakes, some of the comms was a little bit loud, road noise, that sort of thing. So I don't know whether this is going to be any better, but you know, it's trial and error, isn't it? It's finding, you know, I can have a plug-in system which isn't ideal in bad weather. There's always an issue, isn't there, when water gets into cabling and that sort of thing. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway, as usual, when I get back, when I see something of any major interest, which I don't think it's going to be too much on this ride, because it's pretty much through sort of built-up areas out towards Tilbury. When we get to Tilbury, then that'll be a bit different. We'll see the fort. We'll have a walk around the fort. It should be fun. So I'll speak to you soon. So I suppose one of the things I've got to do is really test to see whether this comm system is okay at reasonable speed. So you know, we're talking about wind noise and that sort of thing, and it all depends on the helmet as well, doesn't it? It may be that I've chosen a helmet that's not particularly quiet. Again, a little bit of trial and error there. If it is the case, then I'll change, maybe change the setup in the helmet. So as I thought, we're going to be going through Basildon, out towards the A13. Weather today's not too bad actually. It's been really hot over the last couple of days, so I've sort of been putting this off a little bit, purely on the basis that, you know, I think 2 days ago was one of the hottest day of the year. So as much as I love motorcycling, I don't like sweating my bits off with helmets and gloves and that sort of thing. So yeah, that was a no-no. Today it's a little bit overcast, temperature still 24 and a half C, but yeah, not too bad at all. So we're just coming up to the Pitsea roundabout. We're just heading back towards London, so I don't know if you can see it over in the distance. You probably can't from the camera angle, but there's a huge amount of cranes over the right hand side, and that's all the dockyards at Tilbury, because there is a massive port, part of the Port of London. Yeah, you can over on the left hand side over there see the cranes. And actually on the left of us there's a lot of I suppose there's a gap between here and the Thames, and all of that is marshland really, and it's a lot of it is a bird sanctuary as well. So the railway line does run around that, so it's quite an unspoilt area between this road and Tilbury, apart from when you get to the docks. Obviously still using the Thames to transport goods in and out of the UK, or certainly London area, and England generally. And that's been like that for, well, since the Romans got here back in 64 AD, so the Thames has always been a source of commerce and wealth. According to my sat-nav, there's 7 miles to go. Okay, so we've just left the A13, about, according to this, 2.5 miles to go. Okay, so we're now on the A1089. I'm sure I've been on this road before, but I can't remember. But, pretty much ridden all around here at some point. But I don't often get this side closer to the river. I tend to cross at the Dartford Tunnel, or sorry, the Dartford Queen Elizabeth II Bridge, and come back through the tunnel. And of course there is no other way across the Thames this side. They were thinking of building, I think, a tunnel or another bridge round about Tilbury. Whether that comes to fruition, I've no idea. Don't keep track on it, but I remember Boris Johnson, the previous Prime Minister, trying to get that sorted. Whether that get resurrected under our new Labour government, I don't know, but we certainly do need another crossing this end. The Dartford crossing can be horrendous most of the day, despite the fact that they've changed the system and it's all automatic now, and you don't actually physically have to pay for the tolls. I don't think that's reduced the traffic at all. But hey, something's got to be done at some point in the future. Probably a tunnel is the way forward. I think tunnelling, although it can be, I think it, well, I don't know, is it more expensive to build a new bridge? I think it's cheaper and less maintenance as well. Once you're in the tunnel, that's it, isn't it? With a bridge, you've got to keep painting the thing, but yeah, that's something for the future, I think, for this country to just consider. But there is projects all over the country, aren't they, that maybe are more important and more in demand, like a decent rail system in the north of the country and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm sure it's on the list, but not necessarily a priority. As you can see from the camera footage, we're getting into a sort of more built up industrial area, which is really Tilbury. opening for the docks and passenger ferry as well. You can actually leave for other climes from Tilbury as a passenger on a ship. There is a passenger port here as well. I always see it from the bridge. It's funny, I never actually get down to grassroots level to have a look at it. And I would imagine the fort sticks out on its own. There it is over on the left. And it's sort of nothing built up either side of it. Be interesting to know how far the Thames has gone back since the fort being built in the 17th century. There's one of the moats on that side. It is surrounded by moats because obviously, like all good forts, they didn't want to be attacked land side either. I'm assuming it's a left here. Maybe not. Hang on a minute. No. Sat nav has given up because I'm in Fort Road. That's it. Not giving me any more information. You're on your own, son. I'm sure it's a case of all roads lead to Rome. So what we got up ahead? Tilbury Fort. There you go. It is English heritage site, so should be signposted. Is it? Okay, so arrived at the fort. Could actually park outside, so I've relocated from the car park where initially I put the wheels down, and that saved the walk. You'll see a sort of bird's eye view of the fort from the drone footage, and it's a specific design that allowed crossfire. Which made it particularly difficult to attack. It was never actually used, according to the website. It's never actually used to defend the Thames. It was used, it was rebuilt, redesigned for the Second World War, and you can see up on the top there's a World War II armament. But yeah, just I suppose the panic at the time, wasn't it? 1700s was a time of revolution and occupation of Europe, and so this was built. That looks like an old barracks, but we'll go through it. This is the General Artillery Store, which was 1868 to 1871. Said. Originally contained equipment needed for gunners, including rammers, mops, sponges, buckets, ropes and tools. So this building is the officers' mess, or the officers' quarters, I should say. It was rebuilt around 1772 and modified in the 19th century. This originally housed the senior officers of Tilbury Fort and their families. I can imagine in those days it was pretty busy as well. That square full of troops drilling, practicing for the inevitable, which never actually came. Yeah. I suppose back in the day as well, Tilbury was a lot less populated, so it was probably in the back and beyond. And there you go, officers' stables, the only way in and out. Horse, keep their horses in there. And this is the shell and cartridge store. Back in the wow. It's quite cool in here actually, which is just as well, keeping the gunpowder and ammunition cool. So it says here the first Tilbury Fort was between 1539 and 1543 and responded to an invasion threat by constructing artillery defences and all likely invasion points from Hull around south coast to Pembroke in West Wales. So that was Henry VIII's idea. And then his daughter, Elizabeth I at Tilbury, she gave her speech to the troops that were waiting for the Armada in 1588. And then Charles II modernises England's defences back in 1660, following the Restoration. He began his modernisation programme of English defences comparable in scale to that undertaken by Henry VIII 120 years earlier. And this shows you the layout of the Tilbury Fort, the new one, which had a pentagonal fort and designed by de Gaume, who I believe was a Dutchman. I think how thick these walls are as well. Pretty thick. I think it's getting through that. And certainly not with the ammunition of the day, which was just basically ball and powder. This is where all the gunpowder was stored. Make a pretty big bang, I should imagine. Yeah. And of course all this stuff could be transported up the Thames as well. So there was always access to the fort by the river. And these gun barrels, 6-pound gun barrels, are French and Spanish in origin. Those with anchors cast on their trunnions on naval guns and probably date back to the 18th century. It's not known why or when these barrels came to Tilbury Fort. There you go. It's obviously a modern shell. It's lovely and cool in here as well. I'm not complaining at all. It's lovely. Right, let's have a look at a little bit more. Okay, we're now going to go into the magazine passage. Okay, so the shells went up that hole there, where the gun was above it. Okay, so this is one of the gun emplacements for a 9-inch rifled muzzle-loading gun, which was built around 1868 to 1871. So it was rifled, so more accurate. Still muzzle-loading though. And there you go, which I suppose looks out. Of course, you have to imagine that that wouldn't have all been there, and that wall wouldn't have been there. So you'd have seen a lot more of the Thames from this position, still surrounded by the moat, of course. So as we're walking along, these are all gun emplacements looking out towards the Thames. And as we saw from the bottom, all that stuff was brought up to the top by lift. So stuff, I meant ammunition. So now we're going to head out towards a slightly later period. Oh, look, looks like they're still being used as accommodation. That's the rear of the officers' barracks. That's a special place to live. Not all are occupied, just a few. Might be people that work for National Heritage. I would imagine they're not particularly warm. They're old buildings, aren't they? All Georgian, drafty. And they've all got, you know, special things that you can't do, certain stuff like replace the windows, and because they're grade 1 listed. But anyway, yeah, everyone needs somewhere to live. So now we're going to go up to a 6-inch shell store. This is 1903, 1904, so we're sort of coming up through the ages. That was loaded up through there to the gun, which was sitting above. No longer there. Well, something similar, just along. So we're going to have a look at that. But that's where it came out of that container, and then loaded on. Don't think that's the right artillery phrase, is it? Loaded on. Put in the housing. I'm sure someone who was in the artillery can tell me what the phrase is when you put a round into a breech. Load? Yeah, it's just load, isn't it? Yeah, I reckon that could do some damage, especially to anything coming up there. I mean, there's not a lot of gap to get through. I think we'll probably send a shell way over the other side, so anything trying to get up here was pretty much annihilated, I would imagine, if they ever tried. Who were the last people that sailed up the Thames to attack us? I think it was the Dutch. I might be wrong. I'll have a look. I'll put it on let you know. I think it was. I think we put a big sort of barricade across the Thames, but it was a little bit further up. But anyway, I'll do some research on that. I think it's wonderful that these places are kept alive for us to just to wander around at our leisure. Obviously, I did pay to get in. It wasn't a lot, £7 something, £7.70. You can spend all day here if you want. There are families with picnics, the kids running around, and you're just left alone really. And on a day like today, it gets them out of the house, doesn't it? Yeah. So I'm going to head back now, get on the bike and head back home. It's just a little run out. If you've enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And I'll see if I can do a couple more of these sort of little historic rides, as I call them. What's the news for the rest of the month? Nothing much in August, but September I'm off with a couple of friends to Belgium to have a look at some more graves and battle sites around Passchendaele. There's a little bit personal interest with that one because my grandfather served with a couple of regiments and was wounded twice around that salient. So the intention is to do a bit of research and to pop out and have a look to see where he served his king and country, and was unfortunately wounded as a result. Fortunately, he survived that, came back, had 8 kids, and died when he was 71. So quite a fella. Okay, I'll speak to you soon.